Welcome to another Internet Business Podcast with Tyrone Shum from the tyroneshum.com website or blog. And today I've got a really special guest here. His name's Pat Flynn. And I stumbled across Pat when I was actually chatting to Chris Ducker, but also I was also known Pat just through Yaro Starak's blog as well too. And I haven't really sort of communicated or talked to him until more recently because I was just reading his blog and I got really interested in more of his stuff that I was doing. So I thought, great opportunity to get him onto the call because he's got a very much the same mindset as what we look at, and also I wanted to share with you exactly what he does and how you can also model off him too. So welcome onto the call, Pat.
Thanks, Tyrone. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to answering some questions for you and your audience today.
Yeah, it's really great. I guess for the people who don't know who you are and want to find out a little bit more about you, firstly, share your story. Love to hear about how you got started and what got you started on your first blog.
Sure, of course. Well, when I graduated college, I actually went to University of California at Berkeley. I studied architecture. I loved it. I got a nice 9-to-5 job after that. I really saw my whole life ahead of me, like, you know, planning to work till I was 65, retire. Like it was all set for me. I really loved my job, but then the whole economy thing happened. I lost my job. And I was kind of at a turning point where I could decide whether to look for another 9-to-5 job or try doing business online, which I've heard so much about lately. And I had been keeping up with, you know, people like Yaro and Darren Rose from ProBlogger and people from all different kinds of internet businesses. Like I was listening to a lot of podcasts and it was really inspirational, but I just never had the mind to do it because I really enjoyed my 9-to-5. But
well, can I interrupt you there? When
Sure.
was this that you're still working the 9-to-5? Like,
oh, I'm sorry. It was in 2008. I was laid off at the end of in October of 2008.
Okay, so it's been about 2 years ago since you basically moved or had been laid off and moved into starting an online business.
Yes.
What started you, and how did you find out that blogging or starting up a business like what you're currently doing now? What led you into doing it?
Well, it's kind of a funny story because it was pretty much accidental. Right before I got laid off, I had a blog, it was a blog that I used just for me. I didn't plan on having anyone else look at it, which sounds kind of weird, but here's the reasoning. I used the blog to help myself keep track of notes for a particular exam I was taking for the architecture industry. It's the LEED exam. LEED, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. So my handwriting is terrible. So, and I'm really good at typing and using the computer and stuff. So I was using the blog as a content management system to help myself study and organize my notes to pass this exam. So I eventually, I just every day I would put more notes on, organize it, and go back to it later and study off of it. If I was on a business trip somewhere, which I often was, I would just go online and check my notes there. I didn't have to hold like a huge binder or anything like that, which is also helpful. And then from there, I passed the test, and then for some reason I just checked my stats one day, and I saw that thousands of people around the world were actually checking out my notes online for this particular exam, and it scared the crap out of me because I was like, I didn't understand how the web worked really, and I was like, how do these people find me? It's kind of like, what if they don't like my notes, or what if they fail because my notes aren't right? But then I got a lot of inspiration from a lot of people who are doing internet business, and I was like, you know what? If I have traffic, I knew that if I had traffic, I could somehow, make use of it, and so I turned that traffic. I saw that traffic I was having, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure the content on my website is perfect for them. I know all about this exam now. I'm going to try to become an expert for these people and help these people out because there was no other resource like it, which is partly why I put it online too. So after doing that, more and more people started coming to the website, and people were, chatting in the comments area, asking questions. I'd always respond, and I'd join people on forums and respond there, and people would come from the forums that I was talking to onto my website. And apparently I was doing everything a blogger should do to get more traffic, but I didn't know that I was doing it. I was
You
just
did it
doing
automatically. It just happened.
it automatically, the natural way things should happen, which is I think why those are the best techniques, because those are natural techniques
Exactly.
in Google's eyes. And I had ranked super high for keywords that I was using, again, because I was using them in such a natural way and not, doing other techniques that you're not supposed to do. And then I had gotten laid off, and I had used that moment to think about my blog and where it was at, and I had said, okay, I'm going to try for a few months to see if I can monetize this thing. If I can't, I'm going to go back and look for another 9-to-5 job. If I can, then we'll just go from there. So first I started to put AdSense on the blog, which is, a normal thing people do to try and monetize it. And it did work. I was earning like $50 a month, like the $50 the first month, which is pretty good. Like that was my first money I ever made online, which is an amazing feeling just to see, I would check every single hour to see the like, oh, I earned 12 cents this last hour. That's pretty awesome. For doing nothing, basically, which is a good feeling. But then from there, I went to private advertising. There were other companies in the industry that were also that had lead stuff like seminars and in practice tests and stuff. So I would sell space on my website for a 125 by 125 advertisement.
But firstly, before you go into that, like a lot of people would be going, okay, it sounds like it's easy to be able to get advertising from Google Ads, but doing private advertising is another step and another level there. How did you approach your people to be able to get advertising? Because not everyone's knows.
Well, actually, one company contacted me first because I guess they had people doing research for the websites that were ranking high in the keywords that they wanted to. So they found me first. And then once I figured out that, hey, I can rent space on my blog for people, then I went and contacted other people. What I did was I saw who was advertising on Google Ads. I saw what those companies were, and I just contacted them directly. And I said, I can rent you a nice looking banner, not just a text link or something on my site for X amount of dollars. And at first, like the first one I did was like $50 a month, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, $50. That's a lot of money to be asking someone. But then the next, like that's when I started getting into internet business and talking in forums and asking a bunch of questions. And they're like, $50 a month with that much traffic, you can get a lot more. Why don't you just try asking for 500 and see what happens? And I was like, are you crazy? That's a lot
10 times more.
Yeah. I was like, no way. But I did. And then, like, wouldn't you know it, a company agreed because I guess they saw my site as a valuable hub for their type of audience. And, I was making $500 a month or a little bit more for some other ads that were on there too. So from there, I was making a decent amount of money. A lot of bloggers would be happy with, $500 to $1,000 a month.
Definitely.
But to make a living off of that, not quite enough. So then I joined a lot of different mastermind groups and asked even more questions from gurus and stuff like that, and just trying to figure out what I could do, if there was anything else I could do. And, they said, well, why don't you come out with some type of product? And I was like, I don't know. And what was funny was other people from my blog were telling me that I should write a book about Lead too. But I had always said, no, I don't want to do that because I don't want to, it sounds complicated. I don't want to get into the whole, I don't want to spend a month or two writing something and, what if it doesn't sell? But honestly,
when we first start off, we always come through with these fears. You